Hello and welcome. Thank you for your patience. I had a bit of a technical issue. It turned out that my phone couldn't auto-rotate, so you're seeing me at a weird angle and also seeing my guest because I am meeting today, broadcasting today from the lab at the Canberra Innovation Network in central Canberra, and I am doing pretty much all of my Facebook Lives for the Joyful Business Club from here. So you're welcome in future events to meet in person if you would like that personal interaction, or to watch this on Facebook. Enough about me. I wanted to introduce the fabulous Irene Zhen.
Hello, thanks for having me, Serena.
Thank you so much. So actually I first met Irene shopping actually at the Zonta pre-loved fashion sale. So we share a love of secondhand and sustainable clothing, and Irene's given me some great input in terms of developing the joyful fashionista. But today we're not here to talk about fashion. We can, if people like. If you'd like us to talk about fashion, leave a comment and we'll talk about innovation in the fashion space. But actually we're here to talk about lean innovation.
That's right, yeah.
So, Irene, perhaps let's just go back to your background a little bit first and say, well, how did you get involved in the innovation space? How did you come to work at the Canberra Innovation Network?
Yeah, so my background is in law, so I studied law at university. And while I was studying there, I came upon this networking event and I signed up for it. Turns out I signed up for the Innovation ACT competition, which I didn't know about, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm committed. Met some really cool people, went through the whole 10-week program, and in the end we pitched our idea, and we ended up getting funding for it, which was really awesome. And through that, I think I fell in love with the idea that you could have a lot of impact through business that you're not necessarily able to have immediately anyway in the legal field. And so I was like, well, I'd love to give that a go, and kind of hung around the innovation space, did a bit of consulting in the meantime after I graduated. And then Sebring was hiring and I was like, well, I can't not apply for that. And here I am 3 years later.
Wow, that's an amazing story. You applied for something not knowing what it was and ended up getting funding through it. So that is pretty awesome. And I must say, as someone who, really likes innovation, I always found through my career in the public service that I automatically sort of gravitated to innovation as well. Like I wasn't working at the Innovation Exchange, but the Innovation Exchange, I think they must have had my number on speed dial or something. Nice. Every time they wanted someone to participate in a random let's get some ideas session, I used to get tagged a lot, and I loved it, to be honest.
It is really refreshing and really fun to go along to those sorts of things, and I think that's why what attracted me to that event in the first place. Actually,
exactly. And as we all know, in the past year and a bit, like companies. Every business has had to pivot so quickly. I mean, just this week, just yesterday, we've seen a major change that's causing people to need to pivot quite quickly.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And, I probably 11 years ago, I wasn't even on Facebook, but yet now a decision to not be able to share Australian media news on networks is really having a huge impact on business. So it's just amazing how things change so quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, and 2020 was a good reminder that things can just happen like that.
So let's go back to innovation.
Yeah.
So what is innovation?
The perennial question. Lots of definitions of innovation, but the one that I really like is around people and people getting benefit from something. So doing something new. People tend to think of innovation as the latest tech, the latest gadgets, apps, all that. But to me, it's when someone benefits from you doing something new. And that new part can be an app and technology, but it can be like process, can be things like I'm going to try this new thing, new way of connecting with people. I'm going to try this new tweak in my business processes, and that's going to have this impact on people. So I really like to draw it back to the people because again, if we're not in it for the people, then what are we doing innovation for, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that concept of the way that you tweak things. I think it's really important to always have that innovative mindset in everything you do. Like even just this week, for instance, I've set up a new system where if I invite someone to be a podcast guest, like in the past, there was a lot of back and forth. Are you available Wednesday at this date? Are you available at this time? Are you available there? Oh, by the way, do you have a profile photo? Do you have a photo I can use? And then I'd go off and I'd do a whole lot of research about them, and I'd be sort of thinking, oh, and where are they on Twitter and where are they on wherever? Whereas now I've set it up where I just give them a link. They go on, they find a time, they book it in, and then they get an email back with a link to a form where they upload a photo, they tell me their bio so I don't have to try and research who they are. They give me some links to what I should read to prepare. And I was looking at this and going, oh my goodness, this is literally going to save me hours every week just with this one simple, innovative change.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, you as the person benefiting from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes down to that, yeah.
And my guests, hopefully it's much easier for them than lots of emails going back and forth as well. And so we've talked innovation. Let's talk lean innovation.
Yeah, so lean innovation is kind of what it sounds. So it's trim away the fat. And to me, it's about making the most progress using the least resources possible. So, you know, you might have an idea to tweak a process or an idea for a new product or a new thing. And what you're kind of preconditioned, you know, through society and school and all that, is to go and build it and, you know, build the full-fledged thing.
Yep.
And then, you know, by the end of it, you might get some traction, you might get some people interested in it or, you know, good feedback, etc. But lean innovation is about, okay, well, let's test those ideas. Let's see, you know, how we can go with the least resources possible, provide that same value. So with Serena, you know, with your booking system, you could have easily built your own app and, you know, gone the whole way with it, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you found like a program that, you know, already existed.
Yep.
Wasn't maybe not exactly perfect, but, you know, you gave that a go and you're getting good feedback from, you know, people who are booking in. And so then you go, okay, well, is there a need for me to add more to that? And so lean innovation is, again, you know, thinking, okay, what can I do? What's the least I can do to then get that maximum benefit?
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And I think we're often conditioned to think, you know, build it and they'll come. You know, what was that movie, Field of Dreams? You know, build this big thing and then they will come. And a lot of bloggers make that mistake too. They'll spend a lot of money, you know, often getting a website professionally designed at first and spending a lot of money, and then, but the community isn't there. Like the community doesn't know to go into the middle of cyberspace and find that. Exactly. So, you know, the building of the community and that engagement and testing those ideas and getting the feedback is actually really important.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I have another question related to this. You know, when is it right to follow your instinct and follow your gut, which says go and build it, versus let's test and ask people about it?
Ooh, that's hard. I mean, I don't think it's two separate things, if that makes sense. You can always break it down into those little steps. So, you know, you can start off with, again, using that example as a booking system, trying out different products and, you know, kind of like slapping together things that might work and might deliver that value. But then you go, okay, well, maybe if I'm getting benefit from this, maybe someone else is getting benefit from this, and maybe I want to, you know, focus on building that. But then the next step isn't necessarily to build a full-fledged app. It's going, okay, well, what's the next piece of value that people will then pay for, or, you know, sign up for, or, you know, do something to show that they're interested. So, you know, going from, you know, all these different systems, maybe it's then going, okay, well, I can easily slap together a website using Wix or one of those services, and then testing that. It's not exactly perfect, but is that a bit better? And will people interested in it if I continue down that development path?
Imperfect action, one of my favourite words.
That's it.
And as Irene knows, I've built a prototype website for the Joyful Fashionista, and it's not perfect yet. I keep finding all these glitchy things. In fact, I've had an audit from it that said that while the security and basic, you know, functionality is good, There's still a lot of things that need work. But if I had waited, I wouldn't have done that. Now, Leanne has got some feedback. So she's asked a question too about, risky feedback, that a lot of people don't want to risk feedback. And she's also said, that's an interesting question. You can get feedback, but if the individuals are not the ideal client, then they might not purchase.
That's absolutely correct, Leanne. And that's why, you want to be careful in the way you approach it. Not in the sense that you want to hide it, but, you don't want to pre-position and going, hey, here's this beautiful, booking system that I've just developed. Do you like it? And then if you ask that, it's like in Australian culture for most people to say, yes, you're so great, oh, look at you, and you haven't learnt anything. You haven't learnt whether that person will actually buy it. And so, one of the ways you can approach that is going, okay, well, I think, you fit the ideal sort of person that I think might purchase it. So maybe entrepreneurs like Serena or other people who might want to save time. And you can go, okay, well, what's your current challenges with trying to organize guest speakers on your podcast? Understanding those challenges, understanding what's out there, and then going, okay, I think you're my person. If I can provide you with this imperfect booking system that will solve one part of your pain, will you pay me $10 a month? And then see what's
sold. Although that said, I've sold somewhere else, but sold.
Yes. I don't have a booking system. But
if I may, and I know you are going to talk about some of the various courses and events that the Canberra Innovation Network has on, but last year I was privileged to have an ACT government scholarship to be part of the Idea to Impact course that Canberra Innovation Network was running, and this whole concept of seeking feedback from your ideal customer was really pivotal to that. Now, when you went out to them, you didn't say, would you buy this? Would you buy this now? You asked an open-ended question about, do you have a problem with this? How do you think we should solve this problem? And it was very interesting. Like in some cases, I think, in most cases I got the answers I wanted. Well, I expected, I should preface that and say, expected to find. Some cases I didn't, and that was very interesting. In a lot of cases, I actually learnt stuff about competitors that idea that I didn't know existed, and that was really useful too.
Yeah, it's often a really good way to just understand what's currently out there, how people, what's in their, be in your customer's shoes or people's shoes and understand their world as they see it. And it's often a missing sort of link when we first meet entrepreneurs. They haven't thought that through completely.
Well, I don't think everyone's thought things through completely. There's always, you have this idea in the shower while you're busy working on an urgent work project, going for a walk with your dog. And there's something in that, but you haven't really thought through the revenue model or how it's going to work, or
Definitely. It's imperfect, but the best way forward is then to take some action and test that.
Leanne said yes, was very interesting with someone who was waiting for the finished website before making sales. I can relate to this because I'm in that kind of frame a little bit myself. Whereas the better way is to be making enough sales to develop the website.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to start somewhere, and it's uncomfortable sometimes putting yourself out there to sell things.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people, in fact, they do wait until they've got the perfect product before showing it to anyone. But a lot of the successful entrepreneurs that we've seen, they've done, it's imperfect, but it solves a problem. People want it so much that they're willing to pay for it even before it's perfect or finished. And that's when you know that, once you invest that time and money into finishing it, that you've got customers waiting for you, and that's the best position to be in.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm an early adopter of a share trading platform. In fact, I'll say who it is. I have an affiliate program with them. So just to put it out there that I have a commercial relationship with them, and that's Perla. And when they were first starting, I think I was actually their first person on the system. If not, I was not first. It was, very close thereafter. And they actually watched me as I did it. So they were actually observing where I went to on the site to see what my user interface was like. Yeah. And there was a bit of pressure, and of course most of their users are young guys, and I'm a woman, so it was a little bit different as well. I wanted to know why you couldn't upload a selfie easily, for instance, but that's all good. But they've now gone on, they've now got $2 million invested through their platform. So within about 7 months. But the first time I looked at it, it was very, very, I wouldn't say dodgy, but it was very, very low tech, and it was very glitchy.
Yeah,
but you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and as long as you set the right expectation, you go, I'm working on this, it's a bit early, what do you think, or, how are you going to interact with it, and that's fine.
Exactly. Leanne's been asking more questions, and on my phone I've lost one of them, but you asked a question about research. I saw it pop up. I can't go back to it. But, this value of research and how important that is, and how a lot of people, it's a bit scary sometimes. Yeah. And then she's also said, we are often worried about the website. Yes. Yeah. But we live in the age where a Facebook page can do the startup work.
Love it. Yeah.
Yes, except for the day before. Yesterday they all changed a little bit.
If you're in the news area, yep.
If you're in the news area, providing the web presence. Yeah. This is interesting. And actually, when I was in Taiwan on posting, sort of about 2011, 2012, I noticed that, particularly for restaurants and cafes, it was often much easier and quicker for them just to do a Facebook page. Certainly they could do that, within minutes.
Absolutely.
No cost. Yeah. And they can do a lot of things.
Absolutely. And the key question I think of, is, what is the customer or the target audience trying to, what's the value that you're trying to deliver to them? And can it be delivered through things that already exist? So, again, back to the booking system. Lots of things exist at the moment, Calendly and all that. No need to build your own, unless there's some part of it that's not being met by the current areas. But even then, you can do things like go, okay, well, let's take this element of it and put that together with this element. Can I concierge an experience of that value? And to really test that idea of, do I need to build this full-fledged app? And,
exactly. And there's 2 points I want to pick up on there. And one is, using what's out there already as a basis. And, certainly with the Joyful Fashionista, when I first came up with the idea, I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to have to put aside, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 or something to build an app, because everyone's talking about apps. And I was like, I don't know how to do an app. And then, I sat on it for a day or two. And then one of my good friends said, well, actually, to be honest, I prefer websites anyway. And I went, hang on, I'm a blogger, I'm used to websites. So, and I like WordPress in my case, and I'm not, advocating one over the other. It's just I'm familiar with that platform. Yeah. And then I did some research and found that I could buy a theme fairly quickly, fairly easily. In fact, I think it cost me $69 for instance, and it did probably about 85 to 90% of what I wanted it to. Yeah. It's still not perfect, and believe it or not, that theme comes with an app, which I haven't yet developed. Yeah. Now, when I say it's not perfect, there are a number of quirky things that come with that it's going to need code to develop. There's a number of things that I want to take it in a different direction. It's going to need code, but I can prove the concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a fairly low cost way.
Yeah, I've also got an example with that actually. So one of the startups I'm involved in, Guide XP. So they develop digital experiences, digital content management systems for museums, art galleries, and all that. And the vision for the product is, an app probably, that could do all these cool things like AR, VR type stuff, and, automated. So, you chuck in your exhibition details and it will just spit out this thing that, this guide for this particular exhibition. Sounds pretty cool. Didn't have the technical skills in the team. So what we did was just, pull together, a very simple website using templates and all that. Looked okay. But then we went, okay, so the value we think that we're testing is the automation part. So what if we got the artists, the people managing the exhibitions to just send, submit all this content via this portal that we created using Podio, and, the team then would receive that and then put that up on the website to test that automated thing. So to the user, it was automated. But, we had a bunch of people just going, okay, now copy and paste that here, copy and paste that there, spit out, now publish, and there, voila, a guide. And we tried to test that value that way, to see if there was value in that automated process. And we learned, we learned a lot of things. It wasn't necessarily the automated part that was important to people, but going through that process without investing in getting someone to develop that was really valuable for us.
Yeah, so if you haven't picked up on that already, Irene is not only really keen on innovation, she doesn't just deliver courses on innovation and mentor people in the innovation space. But her and her partner are innovators themselves, working on a website and app to help people visiting art galleries. And so you came up with that idea when travelling, I believe.
Yeah. So we were in Europe as students, didn't have a lot of money. And it was like, 15 euros for entry to a particular museum. And, if we wanted the audio guide, it was 7 euros on top of that. And it was, the choice between the audio guide or lunch or something like that. And we're like, can't really cut corners there. And so we're like, well, actually, we saw what they were handing out. It was one of these giant phone things with a little screen. It was charged. They had like hundreds of them, in a charging sort of dock thing. Clunky as hell, and we're like, that's expensive. Like, why isn't there a simple, app that we can download or something that didn't involve hardware? And as we sort of explored that, we went, okay, well, we understand, there's some challenges in that sector. For example, that's the existing competitor. They had their own apps, and they've invested a lot in these already. But so we tried to look for that value. Why would someone not have that?
Yeah, it makes sense too. And it must cost them so much money. People drop those things or they forget to take them back because that can happen sometimes or they just want to keep it as a souvenir. Why would you? But, I'm sure that happens.
Yeah. And, it takes forever to update the content and things like that. So,
yeah, exactly. So Leanne's been posting lots of comments and I've lost some of them, but she's, we've talked about Facebook pages and how, it is a challenge to new sites, but you can still sell. And she said, yes, what is automated, rhetorical, and whose experience is being improved.
Exactly.
And she says, I know it's the never-ending cost impacts.
Yeah, and as you dig deeper and, through interacting with customers, so we went, this is such an obvious solution, why isn't anyone else doing that? And when we started speaking to some of the people who are, managing, we're like, actually, it's a little bit more complicated than we first thought, and that was really good to find out.
Yeah, but I can't wait to find it on a phone near me because I think that's really interesting too because sometimes you might even want to go back and listen to things after you've been to an exhibition.
Interesting, okay.
Well, in my case, because I've got kids, we're often a bit rushed when we go through an exhibition, so you don't really have time, but you might want to listen to it afterwards.
Exactly.
And Leanne noted, and most of us have a phone. We do these days. And if we can download so much value.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you want to do that, most definitely. So I want to ask another question for you because I know you're very much into, the innovation space. So is innovation just about geeky guys? And now there's nothing wrong with geeky guys. I'm a mum to a tween who loves his computer and is definitely going to be turning into a geeky guy. He's a geeky boy, but he will be a geeky guy. So there's nothing wrong with them and we need them in the world. But are they the only innovators?
No, absolutely not. So the definition that Sebring actually uses for innovator, entrepreneur is just anyone who's doing new things. Doesn't matter if you're that, stereotypical geeky guy developing apps and all that. To researchers, to small business people, actually small business people have had so much business experience and they're kind of already doing a lot of the stuff that we call innovation anyway. They're just not calling themselves entrepreneurs per se. And intrapreneurs is another thing, people trying to do new things within large organizations like government, private sector. Absolutely not. I think innovation, it's a bit of a, overused term sometimes. People they have this certain image of it. But, part of our role is to sort of break that down and go, well, if you're doing something new, you're technically an innovator.
And I want to acknowledge too that Sebring, the Canberra Innovation Network, is doing a lot of work to make innovation, to broaden it so when people think of innovation, it's not just the geeky guys too. So you have a specific series profiling in women in innovation, I believe, too. And I know that because I was profiled as well.
And so we've run a number of, sort of programs or events around trying to challenge that. So we've got a program for researchers, we've got the female founders thing starting up again, and a bunch of, collab labs events targeting sort of specific sectors, who might traditionally not have thought of themselves as entrepreneurial or innovative.
So let's talk about the female founders because you've got a big event for International Women's Day coming up. Yeah. I'm all signed up to attend. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Yeah, so we've got our Female Founder Connect. happening in March to time it with International Women's Day. So I will send to Serena the link to sign up for that if you are part of that, if you want to be part of that. It's just an informal meet and greet to launch a series again for this year. But going forward, it will be regular meetups, both virtually and in person, for female founders or female identifying people who are interested in the space and just want to connect with other people in that space as well.
And I've met some amazing female entrepreneurs and female-led startups through that session, actually. And yeah, just people doing amazing things. I'm like, oh my God, and you're in Canberra? How did I not know about you? And, you know, I know I've spoken about this before, but one of the things that's really lovely about the Canberra innovation ecosystem is just how highly collaborative it is. And I would say too that the women in innovation that I meet through Sebring are especially collaborative as well. So it's really lovely.
Yeah, so definitely come along to that if you like.
Yes, do, and I'll make sure I have that link there as well. Now, there are some other really cool events that you have happening, and there's even a grant round too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we've got loads of things happening, packed out calendar. So the grant round I'll start with is the Innovation Connect grant. So it's match funding between $10,000 to $30,000, and the match component can be in kind as well. So if you don't have the cash up front, don't worry about that. So the EOIs are closing end of March, so March 29th from memory. Best thing to do to kick off that process is to book in an intro meeting with us on sebring.com.au, and we can have a chat about both the grant and other things that might be applicable to you.
And they're not scary, as you can tell.
Scary.
I didn't meet with Irene for this particular grant. I had a meeting with Zach, one of your colleagues, but no, they're not scary.
No, we're friendly.
They're friendly.
We like helping entrepreneurs. We get excited by ideas, and we want to help you succeed.
And I always learn so much from those sessions. Like I said, Irene's given me some really great feedback, particularly with the Joyful Fashionista, but also with the Joyful Business Club.
Oh, thank you. The other things that I love to mention is we've got a webinar coming called Where's the Money? And that's part of our efforts to demystify funding sources available for startups. So we've got a couple of guests coming in the sort of grants program space. People who've gotten seed funding. We've got someone from Epicor who does financing through loans, business loans. And someone from PwC who is an expert in the R&D tax incentives. So we're going
He's pretty good, Damien, right?
No, we've got Roseanne.
Oh, Roseanne's amazing.
She's awesome. I love her.
She's awesome. They're both amazing.
They're all awesome. And we'll have a bit of a chat about, where, as a startup, where are the sources of funding, and, try to sort of break down some of the myths around that as well. So do come along. That is virtually next week on 24th of February, 12:30, I think. Details in the link that I will provide.
I am also signed up to that.
Yes, awesome. And the second last thing that I want to flag out, so a lot of people might have ideas or, they're thinking of getting into the entrepreneurial space. We've got an idea-thon coming up, and it's just an opportunity to bounce ideas, look at processes of how to come up with good ideas, and we're just going to have a lot of fun doing it. So that's happening 10th of March, link to be provided.
I'm going to sound like a broken record. Yep. I am also signed up for that.
It's going to be a lot of fun in the next few weeks, like lots of really cool things that we're trying, which will be awesome. And the last thing I'm going to pitch is the Idea to Impact program. So if you do think that you want some structured program in trying to develop your innovative ideas, come and chat to us or check it out on the website. The first cohort kicks off late April.
So will this one be virtual or in person?
We're hoping to have it in person, pending COVID restrictions. So the format is 5 half-day workshops in person, hopefully, over about 10 weeks. And we'll have accountability groups online on the off weeks. So you'll get a lot of support. We'll challenge you. We're going to try and help you make the most progress in your ideas as possible. And we'll provide that safe space so you can, chat about your learnings and how you go with that as well.
Yeah, and it's a great course. Like I said, I'm an alumni, so I attended that course last year. It was done virtually last year because it was during COVID. But Canberra Innovation Network have quite an innovative platform. They use Remo.
Yeah.
So it's like you're sitting on a table with other people. So it's, you have a chat on your table with a whiteboard virtually. You can go to other tables. You don't like that table, you can go to other tables. Yeah, or you can, just go to other tables to, meet new people. It was a great way, and I have formed some really good friendships with people and have an ongoing accountability group that has formed through there. So not only have I learnt a little bit about the concierge method and lean innovation through that, but I've also made some great contacts that I hope will be contacts for life.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and it's about the community. Sometimes it's hard to do this by yourself, so surround yourself with like-minded people, who want to support you and are your cheerleaders when you go through that journey.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Irene, for being on here. I have one final announcement too, which is I am launching a special private group for startups. So I will be providing the details soon. As you can hear, I love being in the startup ecosystem. I love talking about innovation. And so I'm looking for a group of really high vibe, amazing women to join, or guys, but I suspect they'll all be women, to join on that journey. So I'll be sharing details later today, and I'd really love to have you on board with that too. So thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you for having me on.
And if you want to find out more about the Canberra Innovation, the best place to do is to head for the website, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows what they can share during Facebook these days, but they also have a LinkedIn group too, which is very active. But sign up for some of those events. And also to another one, I'm sorry, we forgot, is the First Wednesday Connect.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think the next one is the 3rd of March.
Correct, that is correct. Yeah.
So make sure, that's a really great way to network and to meet people in the innovation and startup community. And if you don't think you're an innovator, you might be surprised, because innovation comes in all shapes and sizes, all genders, all age groups.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much.
Great. See you, everyone.